So what have I been watching of late? Yeah, we're going to have a look at the films, TV, physical media that I've been watching over the past, well, I think it's been about a week and a half since I last brought one of these episodes. So yeah, here we are now doing this one. So let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And yeah, again, another episode of what have I been watching. Now, like I said, I'm going to bring this every couple of weeks rather than weekly. Yeah, just the way I want to do it, you know, as and when, not a specific day. I'll drop it and talk about what I've spoke about over the past couple of weeks. Now, to be honest, the last few weeks, or last couple of week and a half, has been a bit funny for me in the sense that a lot of days I went to bed incredibly early. That's in part because of work and the time that I have to get up for work. Also taking into account that I get up and drive the wife into work as well. So sometimes we go to bed at incredibly stupidly early times. I like my sleep. But there we go. So we're going to talk about the new films that I've been watching, kind of cinema films. We're going to talk about the TV side of things, and also the few bits of physical media that I have here that I have pulled off the shelf to watch. And yeah, so anyway, so first up, let's get the TV stuff out of the way. So I'll be honest, the only thing that I've been watching on TV of late now is Dexter. That's the only show that I have been watching. I know that Harley Quinn, the animated series, has come about. I've got 3 episodes of that to watch. I've not got round to them yet. Things like that. But Dexter is the only one. We're 2 episodes from the end of the show. And this series of Dexter has been something wonderful in my opinion. Not only is the casting fantastic, but the story is great as well, and it's very akin to Dexter of old. What I mean is those early seasons, those early very good seasons of Dexter. Even with the new cast, the young Dexter guy, he's just fit into that role like a glove, and I certainly hope that they do a second season of this. You know, we've come to find out who the actual the primary killer is. I won't say who it is or anything like that, but yeah, to say that it's quite a shocking twist is an understatement. I didn't see that one coming, but yeah, so thoroughly good show. Shame there's only 2 episodes left, but I think what me and the wife are going to do then is restart on Dexter from season 1, going back and visiting them. That's the plan anyway. So the other TV film now that I watched was Star Trek Section 31. Michelle Yeoh's character from Star Trek Discovery, I'll get my words out, Star Trek Discovery, Philippa Georgiou. You may remember her character from the early seasons of Discovery before they got flung into the future. And it follows her with Section 31. It was a tough watch. I didn't watch it straight away. It took me maybe 5-6 days to watch it from when it aired. So it was only not long ago that I watched it. And it's pretty damn terrible. If anyone thought that, you know, if anyone ever would have thought to themselves, this is what I want from Star Trek, you know, Section 31 themselves as a clandestine group has been about in Star Trek since the days of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. They were quite a big part in Star Trek Enterprise, this sort of a thing, and there's always teases of something being done with them, you know, and obviously there was talk of a Section 31 series. I'm glad this didn't go to series. What I mean is I'm glad they've done a film instead of a series. The series was kind of put paved to because of Michelle Yeoh's Oscar win that she had, but she was the one who kind of fought for this film to be made. But seriously, this isn't Star Trek. This feels nothing like Star Trek. Yes, you got a character in it, Garrett. Was it Rachel Garrett? who was the captain of the Enterprise C in, I think it was Yesterday's Enterprise, something like that. She was in Star Trek before. Oh, the character was obviously a different actress, but you know, you've done nothing with it. There was and a lot of it is played for laughs and this sort of a thing. There's this element of lightness to it, but when you've got a character like Philippa Georgia, who's this quite dark character, you know, she's been responsible for genocide and things like that, and you don't do nothing with it. You don't kind of explore her trying to make amends for what she's done or anything like it. Just it just falls apart, you know. I mean, Michelle Yeoh's pretty damn good in it. I can't, you know, fault her, you know. She's quite a good actress, but yeah, this just isn't Star Trek, you know. Then it makes me wonder, and I might do a poll on this, you know, which franchise has sunk the lowest? Doctor Who, Star Trek, or Star Wars? That's what came to mind after watching this. I mean, you know, this new iteration of Star Trek, you know, Discovery was pretty bad, you know. The animated show's Lower Decks was very good. You know, the other animated show, Prodigy, wasn't bad at all. I like Star Trek Strange New Worlds for the most part, you know. But then you've got this, but then this is linked to Discovery, isn't it? It's got that sort of Discovery link, and it's just, yeah, it's just dreadful. For God's sake, you know, I won't be, yeah, I don't know. It's not Star Trek, but there we go. So let's talk about some of the films that I've been watching, you know, the bigger new release movies that have come out in the cinemas of recent. So, Kraven the Hunter. Now, I had watched Kraven the Hunter already, and I sat down and watched it again last night on the back of watching another film. And you know what I mean? I don't mind it. I don't mind Kraven the Hunter. You know, I know that the Sony verse of films have, you know, Madam Web and all this sort of a thing, you know, which deservedly so. I don't think it was bad as what people made out, but deservedly so. It's a bad film. But Kraven, you know, I don't know whether it's because I quite like the character from you know, from Spider-Man. I don't know if it's because I quite like Aaron Taylor-Johnson as an actor. I think he's pretty good. But I can sit and I can watch and I can enjoy the film. I don't think it's as bad as what people are making out. I think, you know, I think the IP, the Sony Spider-Man IP is irrevocably damaged. You know, it's irreversible. You know, you can't come back from you know. So as soon as one is mentioned that they're making a film, straight away there's this bandwagon, this hate train that starts up, and everyone starts boarding it and this sort of a thing, and people are conditioned into this level of hate from the get-go, and not even willing to give these films an opportunity, a chance. That's what I feel is happening. But I mean, you know, I get that. I understand why, you know, because, you know, Sonyverse hasn't been particularly good. You know, the Venom films, although watchable for the most part, they're you know, especially the third one, you know, they're not very good films, but I can sit and watch them. I put Kraven obviously above Madam Web completely, above the Morbius, and probably above and on par with maybe the best of the Venom franchise, for me anyway. I said, just my opinion, just my thoughts on it. So then we move on to Sonic. I watched Sonic 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and at an hour and 50 minutes, I feel that it may be a little tad too long, could have been shortened by maybe 10-15 minutes to give it a bit of a sharper run time. I felt the same with Sonic 2, you know, but in that one I felt there was a whole subplot that could have been removed and it would have been fine. So Sonic 3 I certainly put above Sonic 2. It's an enjoyable film, okay? It's fast-paced, it's bright, it's colourful. Jim Carrey, you know, I was laughing at some of the stuff that he was doing in it. Yeah, all round, you know, an enjoyable franchise. And to think how this franchise began, you know, with that trailer that everyone hated because of the look of Sonic, and then they went back and changed how Sonic looked, and the film came out and it actually made a wealth of money. And here we are, we're now 3 movies into the Sonic franchise, and with a Sonic 4 on the horizon. Obviously, Keanu Reeves has joined the franchise here as the character of Shadow. Great, you know, what can I say about that? They're good. The film looks great. You know, it's, what can I say? It was a fun movie. Then I watched Nosferatu. Now, Nosferatu is a film that I was looking forward to. I was intrigued by, because I kind of like some of these, a couple of years ago, I did enjoy The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I thought that was a very good film for me. I really liked it. And so I went into watching Nosferatu, and, you know, I think it's a lovely looking film. You know, I think that the muted colour palette, you know, some scenes almost look black and white in a sense, looks fantastic. The sets, the settings, the makeup, the costume, everything in this film, it's really well put together visually on screen. It's a beautiful looking movie. That being said, I think it's about 2 hours 15 minutes long, 2 hours 20, 2 hours 12 minutes, something along that sort of line. It drags, and it is pretty damn boring. What can I say? It was a pretty damn boring movie. There's an element of the film in the middle where it is set on a boat, bringing, you know, Nosferatu over, and I was sat there thinking, I want to watch Voyage of the Demeter. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I know that Nosferatu has been somewhat divisive, in the sense that I've seen people saying that they love it. I've seen other people saying it's boring, etc. For me, unfortunately, I err onto the side of it was rather boring, but technically put together a really lovely looking movie. I wouldn't buy it on physical media, because I don't think I would ever sit and watch the movie again. But there we go. So now let's jump to those physical, I can't get that word out. Jesus Christ. What's wrong with me? The physical media watches that I have watched over the past however long it's been. Okay, so first up, I will give a mention to having watched Austin Powers, the very first Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. I watched this as a watch party over on Video Tasties, Gareth's channel. He invited me over to watch it. Unfortunately, I don't think I was very lively in that chat. I don't know, it's been 11 months since I've done one of those watch parties with Gareth, primarily for the reason that last year was particularly bad for me, and I didn't really want to interact with people and things like that, hence why I didn't really do any lives on my channel last year and things like that. A very handful, you can count on one hand how many I've done. I just, you know, and there's still an element of that, I suppose, but I thought I'd go and watch it. Now, Austin Powers, obviously it wasn't a full-on watch because I was talking at the same time. The volume's down. Subtitles, no, actually, they're in the subtitle. Is it me, or is there not a subtitle option on this film? But anyway, Austin Powers, it's a great film. I love Austin Powers. I think all 3 of them are very good films. I'd be very hard pushed to rank them. Generally what happens is if I watch one, I have to watch the other 2 as well. They come as a package, so to speak. But I didn't feel that this time around. And I think that was because, obviously, I was talking while it was on. So it was kind of like on the TV, but you're not really paying attention. But I just wanted to watch that one, or mention that one for that reason. I did share the video at the time saying that, you know, it was going to be on there. So you can go and check that one out if you so wish. So the next one I watched, and this took me 3 days to get through. And that's not because of the film itself. and that was John Carpenter's Vampires. Yes, I know it says vampire on it. This is a German version of it. I actually have 2 copies of this film. I have this one, and I have one where it's doubled with Ghosts of Mars on the same disc. But it annoys me that it's a double pack, and that's why I got the German one as well. But yeah, it annoys me as well that it ain't got the S on the end. It's just John Carpenter's Vampire. But there we go. Uncut. James Woods. Daniel Baldwin. Is he the lesser Baldwin? He may very well be the lesser Baldwin. But I really like this film. Now, the reason it took me 3 days to get through is because I mentioned earlier about going to bed very early. And I wasn't really feeling like watching something for about 5 days. There was about 5 days we didn't really watch anything. And we were just talking and going to bed early. Didn't fancy putting anything on. But I've made up for that over the past few days. It's John Carpenter's Vampires. I think it's a very underrated movie. A very underrated John Carpenter movie. For me, you know, I really enjoy it. I think James Woods gives a great performance. His character is very good. Yeah, it is very John Carpenter-esque. There's a lot of John Carpenter stuff in it, so to speak, sort of stuff that's in his movies, so to speak. You know, that's John Carpenter. That's, you know, that sort of a feeling to it. But yeah, I'll talk about this one next one, because again, going from John Carpenter into this, and it's not a John Carpenter movie, but it's from 1989, starring Peter Weller, and that is Leviathan. The underwater film where these underwater, yeah, they're in this big underwater mining facility, shall we say, and they come across a sunken Russian ship, and it turns out that on board this Russian ship they had been doing sort of genetic experiments to try and make people one with the ocean, shall we say, and turn them into sort of fish people. And the reason I say John Carpenter is because this film is clearly a rip-off of Aliens and The Thing while being set underwater. It's got all the body horror that The Thing has to offer in it. It's got secluded places set in like Nostromo kind of a thing, running through corridors, flamethrower thing, you know, and while being chased by this alien-esque kind of a monster. It's got a great cast in it. It's got a great cast. I mean, you've got Peter Weller, okay? You've got Ernie Hudson. You've got the fella who was in, I really know him from Pretty Woman. He's the hotel manager from Pretty Woman. He's in it. You've got Daniel Stern in it. So one of the robbers from Home Alone. You've got the girl in it, main girl in it. She was from the Flash TV show. And I'm talking about the John Wesley Shipp 1990s Flash TV show. She was in every episode of that, the English actress. Yeah, you've got the geezer, you know, I forget his name, the captain, the sergeant, whatever he is, from Rambo, you know, the one who he's mates with, his commander, or whatever you want to call him. He's in it as well, so it's got a really good cast. The effects are all done by Stan Winston, right? So it's all practical. So watching this film, even though I felt that I was watching a complete rip-off of Alien and The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, I could appreciate the practical effects. I could appreciate the sets, the set designs and all this. It looked really good, and you sat there thinking, they don't put this into films today, this kind of effort into movies today. Now, Leviathan I have seen, but I probably haven't seen that since the early 1990s. So this is, 30 years have gone by, so I couldn't remember the film. There's some editing issues towards the end of the film where it's not particularly edited very well. And I did enjoy how, clearly the underwater scenes are not underwater, that it's filmed in this sort of environment where there's a little bit of mist to give it a bit of cloud, and obviously dust floating around everywhere to make for the particles that are in the water. And every now and then a fake fish is sort of floated by the camera. It kind of, it was noticeable, but I appreciate the filmmaking technique, the way they'd done it. Yeah, it was, you know, it was okay. It was an okay film. I like the cover of this box. Now, I don't know where I got this version from. This is German. It's a German version. You can see the thing there. Uncut and HD remastered. I will say that the picture did actually look pretty damn good. Again, making me think that if a 4K came along, not that I think the film's worthy of a 4K, but I was thinking this is a pretty damn good copy there on screen. Yeah, 98 minutes. I love this image here because it's just, I don't know where this image comes from, okay? But that is clearly the front of the Millennium Falcon there, the crew pod pilot bit of the Millennium Falcon. Is it not? It bloody is. Yeah. But anyway, so there we go. So next up, continued with my watch of this franchise, and I spoke about the past two of the previous two of these in the previous video that I'd done, and that was a Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes. So I watched Rise and Dawn, and now we've come into War for the Planet of the Apes, and a solid film this is. You know, I think it's unfortunate that people didn't go and see this film when it came out. I don't know why. You know, it made decent money, yes, but it didn't set the box office alight. It was kind of like people just, you know, they knew that the other two were great films, right? And again, this is a great film. It's a really good film. The effects are strong. The story's great. You've got Woody Harrelson in it. How things have turned around. You've got the ending of Caesar. You know, it brings that story to a close. A solid film. It's set a couple of years after the events of the previous one, Dawn, and it's a lovely continuation of that film. And when you watch them in quick succession, all three of them really work together and build each other one up, you know. And I don't think I've ever watched them in that quick succession and seen the stuff that goes through with Rocket in this, the character of Rocket, his friend, Maurice, and obviously the evil ape that died in the last one. I forget his name. But yeah, it's a solid film. So obviously after that, we had to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, you know, the one from last year, which was high up on my movies of the year. But an interesting thing happened in watching this after watching that. It was a very quick watch in succession. And I'll be honest, I think that my advice to anyone is that if you're watching these films, I would watch the first three. Then I'd give it a break for a month or two before jumping into, you know, this one. Or if we get more, I'd give a break between. Reason being, because it became abundantly clear that, well, actually it's not as good a film as the others in comparison. Whilst on its own, standing on its own, it's a great film and it's a great looking film. It feels like the effects have taken a step backwards. And I didn't notice it really when I was watching it the first time round or the second time round. But after coming out of Dawn and War, there was a noticeable step back in the effects work in this movie. That the apes felt like, you know, I would have said that this was done before them if I was looking at the special effects. I would have said, oh yeah, these were done. This came after Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but before Dawn. If I was just shown scenes of effects and the evolution of effects, it's taken a step backwards. The other thing that very much became apparent between War and this, and I realised it while I was watching War, is that there's a huge similarity in an element of the story between that film and this film, which isn't great when you're going from one sequel to the next. And that being the whole, you know, in this film, the apes are captured and they're used for slave labour. They're in this complex where they're building a big wall to keep out this approaching army. In this one, the apes are being used as a slave labour by this ape here, where they're in this compoundy place, you know, with this big wall, big defence wall in this one. Slave labour apes, defence wall, keep out soldiers, keep out the sea. And it plays a big element of the film, and it's really noticeable that the end is almost very similar in that sense, setting wise, and that didn't sit right with me, in the sense that you got one film and such a similarity in that film as well. Couldn't you have done something a bit different that took it away from that? I know that in this one they're trying to get into the bunker, into this compound where there should be a weapon stash and all this sort of a thing, but you know, so it did highlight for me how fantastic this trilogy was. And even though this is a solid film and I really enjoy it, I think that on the next watch, it's going to be watch these, then give it a couple of months break to get these out of my system, and then jump into that, so that I don't see the step back in the effects and the similarity in story as well. But that's just me anyway. So there we go. That's everything that I've been watching over the past, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 days since I've done the last one. Don't know how long it's been. And it's probably going to be as long until I do another one. It's probably going to be about 9 or 2 weeks. I think that's a fair time to do them, not on a weekly basis. So my question to you is, you know, have you seen any of this stuff? Have you watched this stuff? What's your opinion? Do you agree on the Apes films, what I've said? Have you seen Leviathan? Do you remember Leviathan? John Carpenter's Vampires, what's your thoughts on that? Nosferatu, did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you not really care for it? You know, like I said, it's not one that I'll pick up on physical media. I don't see me watching it again. Sonic 3 most definitely will be a pick-up. I have a lot of fun with the Sonic films for the most part. I think they're quite enjoyable. And there we go. So let me know, drop a comment down below. We can have a chat, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.